Hi, I'm James with British Customs. Today we're going to show you how to remove your stock header system from a 2024 Speed Twin 1200. And this is a Euro-5 system, so it's a little different from some of the older systems where the pipe is welded to the cat over here. So you may have an older system where there's a clamp there, makes it a little bit easier to get it apart. This one is welded, so it's a little more complicated because this whole piece is all one piece attached to the cat there. So we already removed the mufflers from this, so if you don't know how to do that, go back and check our video on how to remove the stock mufflers from this bike, and then come back to this one. First, we're going to start by removing the seat. Next, we want to disconnect our battery negative cable. Use your 10mm wrench. You can use a socket if you want. Always disconnect negative first, positive second. But you don't need to disconnect your positive. You can just, as long as the negative is disconnected, you're good to go. Next, you want to take out this bolt so we can move the tank. Got a 10mm nut on this side, 8mm on this side. So you want to lay down a rag or something back here. Gonna lift up the tank, pull that a little forward. Give the tank a little wiggle. Start pulling it back. You can rest it there. I'm just looking to get all this exposed so we can get in there with the wrench. So you want to move the tank far enough back so we can access these wires. We need to unplug stuff from there, the O2 sensors. And we need to be able to get into the nuts on the back side of these bolts because we're going to have to loosen the whole frame to get the cat out. So we want to get these off on each side and be able to get to these plugs here, plus it'll give us access to the nuts on the other side. So using your T30 Torx bit. I'm going to take off this side. So you have this little P-clamp here that's holding the O2 sensor cable. You need to kind of pry that out here. So that clamp is located right behind here, under there. And you'll notice if you go to pull on this wire that it's stuck there. So this is what it looks like, so you know kind of what it is that you're removing. It's stuck in a hole inside the frame right there. It's hard to see, kind of just got to feel it and pry it out of there. And now we can get to the plug and unplug it and pull this off. So your O2 sensor is this one right back here. So we just want to get this one out of our way just to give us better access. So that kind of just pries out of there. And on the back side here, there's a little clip that if we push that in, we can lift the plug up. Then it's easy to get to. Then we can pry that one up and unplug. And then we can pull it back down. And we can pull it out from here. And now we'll get the one off the other side. So again, on this side, we have a clip that's holding the wire right there. So we need to just get in there and pry that sucker out. There we go. Just want to push in on the little tab that's holding it there, and we can pull it out. Lift up on that tab and pull them apart. Now we can pull it down and out. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people turn these out without undoing the plugs, and they'll just get these clamps out of the way and turn this out, and then they try to put it back together by twisting it too far and putting it in that way. If you're really lucky, you will not ruin your O2 sensor, but there's a real good chance that you're going to twist the wires and screw something up in the inside the O2 sensor. So I advise against it. I never ever do it, and I don't think you should either. So now using a 5mm Allen, I'm going to take this little heat shield off. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. 5mm Allen. Get that out of the way. So now we want to loosen these two bolts that are in here. It's easier to come from this side to the opposite side where the bolt is. Using your 8mm ratcheting wrench. And now loosen this up, and then I'll go to the other side to reach over to the bolt on this side. So now again, just get the tool in there. Okay. So now we would need to loosen these clamps. So 10mm really helps if you have a flex head ratcheting wrench. Otherwise, you got to get in there with a wrench and just turn one turn at a time, because you can't get a socket up past the frame into there. So you can see on this one, the way they angled it, it's right at that bracket there. So if I go to use my ratcheting wrench, which is really tight to get in there to begin with, and once I get in there, it doesn't fit. So it's going to be real hard to remove that. If you can get it just enough to grab it, that would be great, but it's not going. So I'm going to have to get in there with my wrench and do it one little turn at a time. So I can't even get this wrench out there. So now I can get in there with my wrench. It's going to take a little longer. Okay, so that'll probably be enough to pull it out of there. So on this crossover here, you can see you got this welded ring on here. On the other side, there is no ring there. So this is just a stop to keep it from going too deep here. So what we're going to do is just tap on this here and drive that way to give us a little room. So now using a 12mm deep socket, we can get the flange nuts off. So now I want to loosen up these two, but I'm going to leave them on. I just want to get them loose and then just put it on like one turn or so, just so the they don't fall off when I pull the other side off. So now that's loose. So now we can start pulling on this one. Get that out. So now from this side I can knock this off, which will give me plenty of room to pull this pipe out. So now I should be able to just pull this off. You could knock it off from the other side, but then it might fall down and scratch something, so better off to pull it off there. Now this will come out nice and easy. Just pull these nuts off. Pull that out. So to help us gain access to the nuts on the back of the frame here, I'm going to take this little plastic. You can leave the plastic in there. We're just going to undo the screw, which will allow it to move around. So I want to get the side cover off here. This plug right here, the wire runs down to the frame here, so we just want to get it unplugged so when we drop the frame rail over here, it's not putting tension on that. So we're just going to unplug it and let it drop down. So you have a little clip right here. You just want to push in on that, and then we can pull them apart. So now we need to get this plug. I'm going to push it down. Get her out there and pull it out of this little channel right here. And that's going to allow it to drop down now. So now we need to loosen this bolt here. Use our 8mm Allen. And once you get it loose, now we got to hold the nut on the other side. So now you want to get a closed end 14mm wrench so we can get it on that nut right there. Just slide it through. This is where getting that out of the way was important. All right, get the wrench on the nut there and loosen it up. Pull the nut out that way. Pull the bolt out. Now again with the 8mm Allen, we're going to loosen these two bolts here. Actually, we're going to take them out completely. So you want to hold this nut back here with a 17mm wrench. And then you got 16mm socket on this side. So for right now, I want to keep this bolt in here just to hold this up in place. I'm going to loosen up the other side, and then we can pull this bolt out and let this hang, and then we can take out the cat. So with our 8mm Allen, I'm going to loosen that. Get our 14mm wrench. Now with this one, we only need to loosen it, not taking it all the way out. So now on this one screw, we need to take this completely out because that's holding the pipe in place. So Our 12mm wrench. Hold the nut back there. 12mm socket on this side. So using a 14mm wrench, an 8mm socket, I'm going to take this bolt out. So now again with our 17mm wrench, I'm going to hold that, 16mm socket. So we want to take this screw off here, which will allow the cooler to move around because you got two little pins on the bottom going through grommets there. So this will just ensure that they come out and go back in and not mess things up. Okay. So the reason why we got to do this side of the frame rail is to get this bracket past here. So that's why we're taking it out, but you don't have to take it completely off if you leave this nut up there, which just makes it easier to get the nut instead of having to put the nut back on. But it's only one nut. If you want to pull that whole rail off, you can do it, but you don't really have to. We can just pull that bolt out, and then that'll allow this frame to move around and get that past there. So next, using a 12mm, we're gonna get this bolt out and this bolt out, and then the cat will be loose. Take this one out here, 12mm socket. So you can see now, this pulls down and allows the frame to drop down. Now we can take this screw out here, and that's the last screw holding the cat. So with a 12mm socket, I'm going to pull out this last screw right here. Now the cat will drop down, and we got to just pull it towards us to get the pin out of the bushing. And that's it. So now that the full exhaust system is off the bike, if you're going to put the X pipe in, if that was your plan, then you want to go watch the video on installing the X pipe. If you're putting a new full system on here, then we can put the frame back together before you put that system on. So that's what we're going to do here. I'd like to just get this up in place and get your big bolt in the middle. Put that in there to hold that. So now we can install these two bolts here. Hold your double encapsulated nut in the back there. Get one screw started. And then we'll get the other one started. Using an 8mm Allen hex bit here. We don't want to torque it just yet. We want to get up top and get that bolt in place, and then we can torque all these down. So at this time, before you go any further, you want to make sure this pin is in the grommet there on both sides. You want to check that. Usually on the other side, it'll stay there pretty good, but on this side, sometimes you miss it. So at this time, you can pull the bolt out still and get it lined up. And then we can push it up in there and then stick that bolt back in. And now we can move to the top. So now we can get this bolt in. I'm gonna put it in, but don't push it all the way through. And we want to get the nut back there. And now we can push it through, get it started using our 8mm Allen hex. We want to get our 14mm wrench on the nut. Tighten that up. Now we can torque that bolt down. Going to 40 Newton meters. Okay. Take that wrench out. So now again, using our 8mm Allen, we're going to tighten these ones up. Now we'll torque them down to 40 Newton meters. All right, so now we want to get this frame back in place. Again, keep an eye on that pin, make sure it's in the grommet where it belongs. Put our screw in here. So now we can put that big bolt in there, and now we can go torque this bolt down. Hold that nut with a 14mm wrench and your 8mm Allen. Torque it to 40 Newton meters. So now we can tighten this top bolt down. I'm going to get our 14mm wrench on that nut. And with our 8mm Allen, tighten that up. Get our torque wrench, set to 40 Newton meters. All right, now we can tighten up these two middle bolts. Get the nut on there. Hold it with our 17mm wrench, 16mm socket. Tighten it up. We'll put the other one on, and then we'll torque them down. So get the nut on. $17mm wrench, 16mm socket. Tighten that up. Now we're going to set our torque wrench to 105 Newton meters. Go tighten the other side. 17mm wrench in there. $105 Newton meters. Okay. Last thing we have to do is we got to get the screw in that holds our oil cooler in. Okay, we want to make sure we got our top hat bushing, spacer in the bushing, and then put the screw in. And with our 8mm wrench, tighten that up. Now our frame is back together and we're ready to put on a full system exhaust. So that's how you remove the OEM exhaust system from a 2024 Speed Twin 1200. And whatever exhaust system you're going to install now, go check out the video for that. Thanks for watching.